Okay, so I think it's time we talk about Blast's group, how strong they are, who they are, and what exactly their importance is in the One Punch Man story. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure we've all been wondering, about this group, these Guardians of the Galaxy, what they are, everything to do with them. And of course, that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. And just to give you guys a quick preface that these guys are probably going to be one of the strongest characters in the series, or some of the strongest characters in the series. So if you guys are seeing me talking, maybe even reaching God level, then, I just wanted to give you guys a quick preface, because I know a lot of guys don't like, scaling characters before seeing their feats, but I think I can do a pretty good I can do a pretty good job without even seeing what they can do, just by them being associated with the man himself, Blast. Now, of course, before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because we're trying to hit 10k by the end of the year, and I'm sure we can do it if, you guys can help me. But of course, let's just get into the video, because again, this is a very huge topic I wanted to talk about, because chapter 156 was absolutely insane. Now, let's start off with, just who they are. Now, I'm pretty sure we can kind of already guess, like, what this is all about with Blast's group. I'm pretty sure Blast just has a group of people that are helping him find these cubes, because these cubes are clearly scattered around the entire galaxy, or just, I guess, scattered around the entire Earth, sorry. So, of course, the Earth in One Punch Man is probably, like, 3 times bigger than the actual Earth, like, the geographical, correct Earth. So I'm pretty sure this is, like a completely, it's a really hard task to do, especially finding these tiny cubes that have just been scattered around the Earth of One Punch Man. And I feel like these guys are obviously going to be fighting God's disciples, and I'm pretty sure I can guarantee that God will have disciples that Blast and his group will fight, and maybe even the S-Class will eventually fight. Now, I feel like God's disciples are gonna be all like minimum, above dragon 80% and above. So basically they're all going to be, high above dragons. Now, if you guys don't know, I changed up my scaling style, so anything between like 40% and 60% is like a mid above dragon. Anything between 1% and I guess 39% or 40% is a low above dragon, and anything between like 70% and 90 or 100% is like a high above dragon. And yeah, of course, after that is God, and that's just going to be the new scaling style I'm going to do on the channel. So I hope you guys do like that style. But yeah, I'm pretty sure all of God's disciples are going to be like 80% and above dragons. So they're going to be pretty damn strong. So Blast's group needs to be kind of like around the same level, or maybe stronger. So I'm assuming Blast's group in terms of strength are probably all going to be high above dragons as well. So I'm talking like 70% and up above dragons, so just kind of around that. And of course, maybe a few might be in the mid, so kind of like Tatsumaki level, kind of. But I'm sure, like, Tatsumaki is like the weakest. Like, Tatsumaki's level is probably the weakest amongst, Blast's group that he's currently in or currently commanding. So we can kind of get a good idea of probably how strong these guys are going to be if if I think Tatsumaki's level of strength is going to be like the bottom tier of, Blast's group. So these guys are going to be pretty damn strong, and I can't wait to see them, because since Blast is pretty much like confirmed to either be like a high above dragon, 80% and above dragon, or like a god, then I'm assuming his partners in crime are gonna be around that same level, just a little bit weaker. So again, One Punch Man is just keep increasing in terms of how strong characters are getting, because now that we're getting introduced to these new guys, we're just gonna expect the villains to get even stronger as well. So soon enough, we're going to be seeing Platinum S and Evil Ocean Water and all these other cadres are, in the future we're gonna see them as weak monsters. Well, not necessarily weak, but just kind of weak compared to what we're going to be introduced to in the future of the series. And of course, now that we've kind of, I guess, not really get introduced to Disaster Level Unknown, but we've kind of got a good idea of what Disaster Level Unknown could mean, then I guess we could start to see more disaster level unknowns being cropped up in the series, and hopefully, as I've said in the previous video, that we do get introduced to a new threat level after this arc, because I'm pretty sure that maybe one might take a different approach, one of Murata might take a different approach, and they might like introduce a new threat level. And I've kind of guessed that they might introduce something called Titan, so something in between like dragon, or sorry, above dragon and god. And of course I know above dragon is not an official term, but Titan is basically going to be the new above dragon in One Punch Man, hopefully. But I've made a whole video about that. I don't want to go too deep into that in this video, because this video isn't about disaster levels. But back on topic, back to Blast's group. Now, when it comes to their importance in the series, I feel like, once this group is introduced, we're going to, I guess, we're not going to be focused on the S class as much as we used to, which feels kind of weird, because to me personally, I still don't think that we are, the characters of the S class haven't been fully fleshed out yet to feel satisfied, with just, kind of putting them on the back burner for the rest of the series. So I'm hoping that before we get introduced to Blast Group, we get more characterization for the S class heroes, because that would just be a lot more fitting. So once we get characterized, we get introduced to characters like Watchdog Man, and maybe even flesh out Zombie Man a bit more, and just all the S-class heroes. Once we get through that, then we'll get back to the Blast group, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then we'll finally get introduced to them, and then we're gonna get some characterization for them, etc, etc. And I feel like at the end of the series, we might see Blast's group and the S-class work together to defeat God and his other disciples, and all his crazy underlings are pretty fucking strong as well. So if we're assuming Sage Centipede would be like, not necessarily like God's underling, but I guess like God's how do I say this? If we're assuming Sage Centipede is like the bottom tier of God's disciples, then we're in for like some crazy monsters in the future, because if Sage Centipede is pretty much like confirmed high above dragon, like 80% and above, then we are expecting to see some like god level stuff in the future of this series. Because if you guys don't remember, Sage Centipede did say that he was sent by God, basically, well, the earth, and we know that God is kind of mixed with the earth, kind of, you could say. So we're assuming Sage Centipede is another one of like God's underlings. So hopefully we might see more characters like Sage Centipede, not the same design, but just kind of having the same purpose, which is to, I guess, eradicate the heroes and be God's like disciples that just work for him. And of course, if I was to predict when we will see these God's disciples, or when we see Blast's group come back into action, that's going to be like later on in the series, like maybe a couple of arcs past this, maybe 1 or 2 arcs past this, we might get introduced back to Blast group and God. But for now, I feel like after this arc, we aren't going to see these guys for quite a long time. So there's a lot of speculation that's bound to be thrown out there in that time, but I guess we can just have fun with it whilst whilst we wait for us to get introduced to these new guys. But apart from that, that's pretty much it for this video. If you liked the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And apart from that, I will see you in my next video. And once again, I will say this every single video: if you have not read One Punch Man or told a friend about One Punch Man, then please do, because One Punch Man right now is absolutely insane.